Now, as the crackdown on civil liberties intensifies in Zimbabwe, there are concerns over the psychological impact on the citizens. Now, to find out how this is impacting the people of Zimbabwe, I'm joined by Carole Nyakudya, who is the Managing Director of Lorac Healthcare from Harare. Lovely to have you with us this afternoon, Carole. We were listening earlier on to the speech that was given by President Mnangagwa. I spoke also to a member of the Zimbabweans Exile Forum, and his estimation of what the president was saying is that the president has completely missed the mark, that the expectation from Zimbabweans were how he was going to fight the abuse and stop the abuse and the human rights issues that Zimbabweans are facing. Instead, he started focusing on outside issues and what he calls, skeletons for what is happening now in Zimbabwe. From your estimation and just from reading where the psychology of Zimbabweans is now on the ground, what is your summation of what the president presented juxtaposed to what the expectation of Zimbabweans are at the moment?
Thank you for having me this morning. And of course, the culture of Zimbabweans is a very unique culture. As Zimbabweans, we are very much a very hardworking, very proud, sort of courageous people. And I think over the years, with the systematic abuses that have been going on within our political systems, which have inherently affected our civil society and freedom of speech, as it were, it has come to the point where people are literally afraid to speak out and express themselves in as far as any kind of ideation that they might have that would improve their personal livelihoods and would improve their expectation of what they should be having on the ground. But even if they do have that expectation, the show of force is so excessive that people are unable to confidently express themselves and be in that confident space without the fear of abduction or systematic abuse or being pulled out in society, as it were.
And is this a generational issue? I know young people are renowned for being the revolutionists when it comes to living under situations that are oppressive to them. Is this sense of fear found across the board, or do you find the young people more militant?
It's so unique, the place where we are as a nation right now, because historically the people that are adults now, and I suppose what you're calling the young people, the young generation, would have been the people that would have lived in a free Zimbabwe, without the knowledge of war or hardship. But what has happened systematically over time is that there's this big divide, this big generational divide, where the senior people in the country seem to be the ones that are living with more comfort, and young people are unable to afford basic lifestyles. And you find that a huge population of Zimbabweans are now emigrating to other countries to try and sustain themselves and have just basic commodities and having access to this. And of course, then people are being driven to the edge of their tether and coming to the point where they're saying, "Kusiri kufa dekupi." In other words, they are saying, if we are going to die no matter what, and it is time that people stand up and begin to speak about the issues that are affecting them.
And what type of pathologies are being manifested at the moment due to the repression? Are you finding within the healthcare space that perhaps there's depression? How are people dealing with the current climate?
What's really interesting about the issues of depression and psychological issues are that, as a culture, we've never been able to recognize, acknowledge, or even react to issues like depression, like anxiety, like trauma that we would have experienced as a people. But what's really interesting is that when you look at the symptomology, you can actually see that people are depressed. People are even clinically depressed to the extent of being helpless. And of course, that is evidently what is happening within the nation right now. And of course, the trauma, people knowing and living that, under the knowledge that they can be abducted anytime, that if you speak anything that is against, the authorities, you can be abducted. That is a big sense of fear right across Zimbabwe as it is. And it's really sad because you don't know how to react, how to support. Because obviously every country at the moment is dealing with their own issues. But Zimbabwe definitely needs some help. Zimbabwean lives matter, and the people in Zimbabwe need help.
And how have Zimbabweans been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic as well, psychologically?
Well, I mean, that's another added stress. Zimbabwe, as you know, the healthcare system is basically inefficient, if not non-existent. There's no water, there's no running water. All of those basic amenities are not easily available to Zimbabweans. And of course, for this generation that would have grown up, my generation that grew up with those resources available, we're very proud, and we've been stripped down to nothing, basically. And so Zimbabweans now, with the issue of COVID-19, is another added anxiety added onto the people of Zimbabwe. They're doing their best, as the reports that come out of Zimbabwe. And of course, those in authority are trying their best with the minimal resources that they have. But then there's issues of corruption that have been spoken about by journalists such as Hope Chimono, that have started to speak about that, and the misappropriation of funds, which of course is causing that frustration in the midst of a pandemic. So in addition to the poverty that is ravaging the nation, the COVID-19 situation again is bringing added stress. And if I'm honest with you, people are just hopeful that it does not become as terrible as it has been in other countries, because really what would happen in Zimbabwe would be catastrophic.
Well, thank you so much for your time and the insight this afternoon, Carole. Very much appreciated. That's Carole Nyakudya there. She is the Managing Director of Lorac Healthcare from Harare.